All right, hi everybody. I'm going to talk to you about cutting today using our cutting tools, the mat knife and the X-Acto knife. Two of those things should be on your materials list. We'll talk about what they look like and then the best practices that will hopefully keep you from cutting yourself or cutting somebody else. So what I'm going to first do is talk about how to cut a straight line. And one of the things that we do oftentimes is think that the scissors are going to be able to do that for us. And so if I take a piece of paper and I cut with scissors, I think that I'm cutting a straight line, but if you look closely at it, you're going to see that it is not straight, okay? So one of the things I want to show you today is how to make sure it's straight, because this is going to be part of the presentation when you've completed a piece, that you want to make sure that people aren't looking at that cut edge. You want them to see that as simply straight, okay? I want to show you how we're going to cut a straight line. There are two tools that we have. We have the X-Acto knife and we have a mat knife, also known as a box cutter. This is an ideal one because what it allows you to do is retract the blade, okay? And to fill it means that you'd unscrew this and slide the blade back in there. If you do buy one of these things, make sure you get replacement blades for that. The X-Acto knife is something that you will use to cut things out of paper. Newspaper, magazines, any thin or lightweight papers can be cut with this device, okay? This is easy to replace. The blade just unscrews and you can slide it out and then put it back in, okay? So I want to show you why we don't want to use this first, okay? So if I'm using my metal ruler, right, my metal ruler to cut a straight line, and that's the only way that I can cut a very straight line, this little blade, because it's so thin, you can see that against the white, it's so thin it will slide underneath that, and it has a tendency when you're going through a heavier weight material to snap off. Once it snaps off, it can jump the metal ruler and it will hit you in the finger or the hand wherever you're holding that metal ruler. So we want to be careful of that. So I'm going to show you best practices first, and that is using something heavier like a mat knife or a box cutter. You're going to line that up, and this would be what you think that you're going to do, but we've also asked that you have a cork backing for this metal ruler, all right? That cork backing is used so that when you do put a line down with pen, it actually has a little air pocket here, so a little air pocket here that allows the ink to then go on the paper and not create a link to the metal. So it will break that line and not then like squirt the ink onto the paper. It won't sort of run onto the paper. So I have to remember when I'm cutting that I want to flip that metal ruler over. The cork side should be up so there's no space between the metal and the piece of paper that you're cutting. First thing that I want to do is make sure my fingers are out of the way, and I want to hold that mat knife and I want to simply drag it along that line. I'm not putting any pressure down because I do not want to worry about skipping over and going across that piece of metal. So the first order is just simply draw it across. Once I've done that, I'll notice that I can pick it up. Do not release this hand until you find that you can break this. When we're sitting down with cutting, we want to make sure that we have a cutting mat underneath what it is we're cutting. If not, we're going to cut through the table or any surface that's underneath this. If I try to cut on something like cement, a cement floor, I don't have to worry about this carving into the cement so much because of the fact that I may not worry about the cement. The problem is that this cut in cement will break the blade. If I cut into a table, I will have a mark on the table, right? And this becomes a problem when it's not your table. If it's yours, you can do whatever you want to. If it's the school's or if it's your family's dining room table, you do not want to cut through it. So the cutting mat is one of the things that we've asked you to buy, and that's going to go underneath whatever it is you're cutting, whether it's paper or chipboard. If you do not have that available, if you don't have a cutting mat available, my suggestion is on the back of your drawing pad or your sketchbook, you'll notice that chipboard is on the back of that. I could flip my sketchboard over and cut onto that chipboard backing. All right, again, just so I have something that I can cut through that will protect the surface that I'm working on. All right, so I want to talk to you about why we're doing this best practice. When I start skipping into doing heavier weight materials like foam core or gator board, or in this case chipboard, I want to make sure that as I'm cutting through this, I'm cutting all the way through so I don't have to reline up that metal ruler. Okay, so again, I know it seems counterintuitive, but I want to make sure that my metal is on the paper or the board in this case. Okay, it is more slippery this way, and you'll notice that I'm standing up while I'm doing this. And it's important that I'm putting pressure down. So again, I want to line that up to the line that I want to cut. I'm holding it down. I'm making sure my fingers are out of the way. And this is why the scoring part becomes so important. As I score this, you'll notice that I'm not putting pressure down. I'm allowing that line to get a little bit deeper as I go. And you'll notice that it's broken away. I haven't moved this hand, and this way I know that I've cut through. Here's the problem. If I do cut this, right, and I only cut, say, half of the way through, maybe I've been really putting pressure in the first part of this, and I take my hand away, and I go, oh, well, it hasn't come through. This is a really difficult thing to now line this up again and make sure that you cut exactly on that line. And again, the whole point here is that what you're trying to do is create a presentation board or artwork, and you do not want somebody to look at the edge of your artwork. This is where the design is. This is what I do not want people to look at.